I was diagnosed with depression in 2021, and ever since, I have been trying to find my way back to a version of myself that feels at peace. Let me give you some background. In 2021, we were very much still dealing with the pandemic, and this was the year following, like many others, one of the most difficult years of my life. In 2020, I lost both of my grandmothers, and I grieved both of those women in very different ways. My grandmother on my father's side was a woman who was very instrumental in raising me. I grew up in her house, living with her, eating her cooking, listening to her lessons. And my grandmother on my mother's side, my experience with her was different. I saw her on holidays and throughout various points of my life as a kid, growing into a teenager, growing into an adult. But my relationship wasn't as close. And so when I grieved her passing, it was because I was grieving times that we didn't get to have together for a lot of different reasons I simply cannot break down in this video. Nonetheless, those losses are losses I feel in many ways changed the chemistry of my brain. My paternal grandmother, the grandmother who was instrumental in raising me, passed away the same day that George Floyd was murdered. So in addition to the familial grief that I was feeling a collective grief with the Black community and beyond for the losses that we were experiencing in our community. I will never forget that day. That day is very much still imprinted in my mind, and it is something that I'm absolutely not healed from. And grief is an interesting thing, right? Do we ever truly heal from grief? I think we go through the different stages of grief, but those are not, linear. Sometimes they go out of order, and sometimes you swing back around to where you began. And so grief is this very interesting thing. I think grief was the start of why I started experiencing depression in ways that I had not before. I put a trigger warning at the beginning of this video, but I'm going to put another one here because if this is not a conversation you are wanting to hear today, I want to give you the opportunity to log off and go take care of yourself. If you are choosing to stay here, I invite you to listen to my experiences, and I also just want to remind you that I am not a therapist, I am not a counselor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm none of that. I am an actor, a content creator, and I'm just simply sharing my experiences as a Black woman living in New York City. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy on and off for years, and every therapist that I have had, I've had good experiences with them, including my current therapist. So let's rewind to 2021. I'm in therapy. In this particular session, I'm talking with my therapist and telling her what's going on and how I'm feeling. And she recommends that I see a psychiatrist because she believes that I have depression and should consider medication. I got so scared. And I immediately started reprimanding myself. Like, Kaisha, pull it together. Get it together. You need to pull it together or you're going to have to get on meds. So upon reprimanding myself, I had to question, Kaisha, why are you being so hard with yourself? If anyone else told me that they needed to take medication for their mental health, I would fully support them if that was the journey they felt was best to take. It was really interesting how I got that recommendation and I immediately went to Kaisha, pull it together. I think one of the things that I held in high regard for myself is that I've always had the ability to pull myself up and to push through. And in 2020, 2021, I started to reach my breaking point because I had spent years, my entire life, pushing through, and my mind, my body simply just couldn't take it anymore. Another thing that I did during the pandemic, which I don't believe was the smartest thing to do, was I wrote a book. I wrote a book of 111 pages, and that book is talking about all these different things that happened from my childhood, and specifically things that happened in the church that I grew up in. And I think that writing that book and reliving a lot of those memories, although all of them weren't bad, the ones that were, I kind of in a way exhumed things that I haven't thought about in years, and I realized that I had not dealt with a lot of that stuff that I wrote my book about. One of the stories that I wrote about in my book was a time when I was about 10 years old, and I was like playing on the steps at my grandparents' house where I lived, and I told one of my family members that I wish I had never been born. And so as I'm writing my book and I'm typing this story out, I started to feel that way all over again. And I actually started to realize that I've felt that way since the moment I said that when I was 10, but it wasn't something I was truly acknowledging. I feel like it was something that had always been there, but not something that had ever really been brought to the surface. And in so many ways, I was feeling like my life, me being here on earth, was a mistake. that somehow I ended up here by accident. When you say things like that out loud to people, especially Christian people, the first thing you usually hear like, no, God has a purpose for your life. You were created for a reason. He knew you before you knew yourself, all these things. And that's really overwhelming to hear when you are grappling with your own existence. I think my existence has been complicated, mainly because I don't come from a traditional family structure. I do have family that love me, don't get me wrong. I want to make sure I'm painting an accurate picture here. However, my existence has not been straightforward, if that makes any sense. Sometimes I have wondered, what would life be like without me? Since I've been struggling with this thought, there have been at least 4 to 5 times where I have thought about unaliving myself. And when I get into those spirals, I've honestly gotten so scared that eventually those thoughts go away, because the thought of actually dying scares me more than continuing to live my life. And if you've never experienced thoughts like this, like, you may not understand, but it is a really scary thing to go through. And so please be kind in the comment section of this video, because I'm really sharing something that is extremely vulnerable. I have not told many people about this. I can count on my hand, maybe 2 to 3 people max know that I'm going through this and that I am having this experience. And I am sharing this here because I am hoping to help free some people. I'm hoping to help some people feel less alone, and I'm hoping to help some Black women, because there are a lot of Black women who feel like they have to push through, how they always have to have it all together, that they can't have time for themselves. And so this truly is for all of that, but it is very much for Black women, because I feel that so strongly. I am tired of being a strong Black woman. I am tired. I cannot hold it anymore. I cannot hold the weight of what it means to be a strong Black woman anymore. I simply cannot do it, and I no longer unsubscribe. So when I need a mental health day, damn it, I'm taking it, because I need it. Otherwise, literally, I won't be able to handle just existing if I'm constantly carrying the weight of all these different things. And are these things asking me to carry the weight? Not all the time, if I'm being honest, but there are a lot of things that I carry the weight for that are a little bit out of my control, if that makes any sense. I'm starting a tangent here, so let me come back. Sharing something like this on the internet is wild. It's wild for a lot of reasons, because the first thing that I start to worry about is, will someone judge me and not hire me for a job? Will someone judge me and think less of me? Will someone judge me and not consider me for XYZ opportunity? Those things are very real, but I do think it's more important for me to show what's real than worrying about what opportunities or people don't align. I also think it's really important for me to share this, because I think a lot of people assume that I have my life together. I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I make it look like I do all the things well and with ease. I think I do. And I'm not proud of that, if that makes any sense. Like, I am definitely in turmoil with myself over that, because I feel like I have a lot of people fooled. I feel like I have a lot of people thinking, oh, Kaisha's fine. And what's really happening is that Kaisha is drowning in plain sight, and nobody sees me drowning. There have literally been so many times where I have been at social gatherings or at events, and I've literally just felt so icky, horrible, all of the things, but no one will ever know it, because I'm smiling, I'm taking pictures, I'm doing the things. And so no one knows but me. Internally, I am screaming and begging for help, but no one can hear it. What I'm about to say here will definitely require a second video, but I think I have also been experiencing what I'm calling a spiritual awakening, but also a spiritual reckoning. If that makes sense, I have very much been on a path where I'm like, I don't know if I subscribe to all the things that I have subscribed to my whole life. The version of Christianity that I was raised in is one that is no longer in alignment with how I wish to live my life. I think that I really struggle with how a lot of Christians behave. And sometimes when people have asked me, like, what's your denomination? Are you a Christian? I am sometimes ashamed to even tell them, because of the reputation that Christians sometimes have. I have had friends literally choose not to hang out with me because of my Christian walk. And so that's a really layered topic. Again, it requires a second video, but bringing it back on topic, I feel like one of the reasons why I have been struggling is because I have not been able to figure that out. And because I'm dealing with this spiritual reckoning within myself, it's something that I need to explore and continue to journey through. From where I stand, I still believe in God. I believe in a higher power. The idea that we are all just here and that there is no higher power, that coming out of my mouth doesn't even sound right to me. Like, I definitely believe in God. And in a lot of ways, I'm trying to figure out my personal relationship with God and what that relationship looks like with the person who I am today in 2023. One of the things that I think a lot of people also don't know about me is that I have spent many seasons in loneliness. Loneliness has been something, and like having a community and a tribe of people that are my people has been a real pain point in my life over the past like decade. I have just been so desperately trying to find my people. And when you live in New York is a very transient city. And so, and also being an actor, right, it's transient because you can book a contract and be off to whatever state, country, whatever. And so I'll make a friend and then that friend will be on contract and leave. And sometimes maybe I never see them again, or there are things like that that happen a lot. And really finding a tribe of people that can be your people can sometimes be very difficult here. And so I've really been trying to work on that. Sometimes I have just felt like I have no one. And I know that that's not true. I know I have a lot of people that love me and that care about me. But because I am a strong Black woman, people don't check on me. People don't call me to say like, Kaisha, haven't heard from you. How are you doing? Like, how are things going in your career? How are things going in your life? People don't ask me those kinds of questions. And because I'm such a good actor in more ways than one, I literally will spin conversations to be around that other person so that I don't really have to dig into what's going on with me. Now, we can argue that obviously that's my fault because I'm not allowing people in, but there are very few people that create spaces for me to actually be vulnerable without judgment. And that's what I need. I need space to be vulnerable without someone judging me or thinking less of me because I am being vulnerable or because I'm being soft. That's what I need. I don't want to leave this part of the story open-ended. I chose not to see a psychiatrist because I wasn't ready to take that step when it came to medication. Now, again, if that is something that you need in your journey, please do whatever is best for you. Medication was something that really scared me because there is a history of addiction in my family and I didn't want to go down that road. And so that is one of the primary reasons why I have not, and I've been trying to do things naturally and mentally and spiritually to help me come out of it. But what I will say is that it is not completely off the table. At this point, once I get to a certain point, if that's the road I need to go down, that is exactly what I'm going to do. But right now, I feel comfortable with what I'm currently doing, and my therapist is watching me, and we have a plan. We are working through this together. I am tired of being a strong Black woman, and I am going to start taking steps every day to allow myself to live in authenticity, vulnerability, softness, truth, all of the things that I need to be a healed Black woman. I really hope this video helps someone to feel less alone.